There's a study that scanned NFL players' brains before the season, then after, just one season, 16 games, 4 months of football. When they compared the scans, the difference was visible. Brain shrinkage in multiple areas, reduced white matter, damaged neural pathways after one season. Not a career, not 10 years, one season. And these weren't backup players. These were starters, healthy, prime of their careers, and their brains were deteriorating in real time. This is what happens to the brain after one NFL season, and it's worse than anyone wants to admit. Let me show you. First, we need to understand what actually happens during a hit. An NFL player gets hit hard. Their head snaps back, or forward, or sideways, but the skull stops moving almost instantly. Protected by the helmet, the brain, it keeps moving, because the brain isn't attached to the skull. It floats, suspended in cerebrospinal fluid. So when the skull stops, the brain continues, slams into the inside of the skull, then bounces back, hits the other side. This is called a concussion. Most people know this, but here's what they don't know. You don't need a big hit to damage your brain. Every single hit creates brain movement. Every tackle, every block, every collision, even the small ones. The ones players don't even think about. These are called subconcussive impacts. No symptoms, no dizziness, no loss of consciousness, just a small jostle. Brain moves a little, bounces back, you feel fine, so you keep playing. But at the cellular level, damage is happening. Neurons are stretching, axons are tearing. Chemical processes are disrupted, and this happens over and over and over. How many times? Studies show. An NFL player experiences an average of 1,000 to 1,500 hits per season. That's practices, that's games, that's collisions. 1,500 times, your brain slams against your skull. Now, most of these are small, not concussions, just impacts, but they accumulate. Think of it like this. If you punch a wall once, nothing happens. Your hand is fine. Punch it twice, still fine. But punch it 1,500 times, your hand breaks. Bones fracture, tendons tear. The brain is the same. One hit, fine. 2 hits, fine. 1,500 hits, permanent damage. So what exactly happens to the brain? Let's start with the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory, learning, spatial awareness. The study I mentioned earlier from the University of Rochester scanned 16 NFL players before and after one season. The results? Significant reduction in hippocampal volume. The hippocampus shrank physically, measurably. What does that mean? Memory problems, difficulty learning new information, trouble with directions, getting lost. And this is after one season. Now imagine 10 seasons, 15. Your hippocampus is gone. Next, the corpus callosum. This is the bundle of nerves that connects the left and right hemispheres of your brain. It allows communication between the two sides. When you play football, especially when you take hits, the corpus callosum gets damaged, axons stretch, white matter degenerates, connections break, and when that happens, the two sides of your brain can't communicate properly. Symptoms? Slower processing speed, difficulty multitasking, problems with coordination. You become slower, not just physically, mentally. And again, this happens after one season. Then there's the frontal lobe. This controls decision-making, impulse control, personality, emotional regulation. Football players, especially linemen, take repeated hits to the front of the head. Every play, they line up, explode forward, heads collide over and over, and the frontal lobe, right behind the forehead, takes the damage. What happens? Impulse control deteriorates. Decision-making becomes impaired. Emotional regulation fails. Players become more aggressive, more impulsive, more prone to anger. And they don't know why, because the damage is invisible. They just feel different, but it's not them. It's their brain, physically altered. Now, let's talk about tau protein. This is where it gets terrifying. Tau is a protein in your brain. Normally, it stabilizes neurons, helps them function. But when your brain takes repeated hits, tau becomes misfolded. It clumps together, forms tangles, and these tangles spread from neuron to neuron like an infection, and they kill neurons. This is CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, and it can only be diagnosed after death. You have to cut open the brain, look at the tissue, see the tau tangles. That's the only way to know for sure. But here's the problem. CTE starts early. Studies on deceased players who died young showed CTE in their 20s. Players who only played a few seasons still had CTE because it doesn't take long. One season is enough to start the process. And once it starts, it doesn't stop. Even if you retire, even if you never get hit again, the tau keeps spreading. The neurons keep dying. The brain keeps deteriorating. There's no cure, no treatment, no way to reverse it. You just decline, slowly, over decades. Symptoms, memory loss, confusion, aggression, depression, suicidal thoughts. Former NFL players have a suicide rate 4 times higher than the general population. Why? Because their brains are broken and they know something's wrong. But they can't fix it, so they end it. Junior Seau, Hall of Fame linebacker, played 20 seasons, shot himself in the chest so his brain could be studied. They found CTE, severe, throughout his brain. He knew something was wrong and he wanted answers, even after death. Dave Dorson, safety, 11 seasons, also shot himself in the chest, left a note. Please study my brain. They did. CTE, Aaron Hernandez, tight end, played 3 seasons, convicted of murder, suicide in prison, age 27. They studied his brain. CTE, the worst case ever seen in someone so young. 3 seasons, age 27, brain of an 80-year-old dementia patient. This is what football does. But it's not just the stars, it's everyone. A study from Boston University examined the brains of 111 deceased NFL players. 110 of them had CTE. 110 out of 111. 99%. Not some, not many. Almost all. If you play in the NFL, you will get brain damage. Not might. Will. Now, let's talk about what happens during the season. In real time, players start training camp. Brains are healthy. Well, relatively, many already have damage from college, high school, youth football. But let's say they're starting fresh. Week 1 of training camp, full contact practices, hitting, tackling, blocking. Every practice, hundreds of hits. The players feel fine. Adrenaline is high. They're excited. But their brains already taking damage. Week 2, more practices, more hits. Some players report headaches, fatigue, trouble sleeping. They don't report it. Because if you report symptoms, you get benched. And if you get benched, someone takes your job. So they play through it. Week 3, preseason games, real hits now. Full speed, game intensity. Players are getting rocked. Some suffer concussions. Diagnosed, sit out a week. Maybe. Most pass the concussion protocol. Even if they're symptomatic, because the protocol is flawed. You can memorize the tests, players know the answers. What year is it? Who's the president? Count backwards from 100 by 7s. Easy, even with a concussion. So they pass and they play. Week 4, regular season starts. This is where the real damage happens. Game hits are different from practice hits. Faster, harder, more violent. Players are running full speed, colliding. Helmets crack. Face masks bend, bodies slam into the ground, and every hit, brain damage. By week 8, mid-season, players are noticeably slower. Not because they're tired, because their brains are damaged. Reaction times decrease, processing speed drops, decision-making deteriorates. This is measurable. Studies show cognitive decline. As the season progresses, players perform worse on memory tests, slower on reaction drills. By week 16, end of the regular season, some players can barely think straight. They're making mistakes, missing assignments, getting confused. Coaches blame effort, dedication, focus, but it's not that, it's brain damage. And then playoffs, more games, more hits, more damage. By the Super Bowl, these players' brains are wrecked, and then the season ends. What happens next? The brain tries to heal. It does. Neuroplasticity, the brain can recover somewhat, but not fully, because the damage is structural. Neurons that died don't come back. Axons that tore don't fully repair. Tau, tangles that formed, don't disappear. So, players go into the off-season. Rest, recover, feel better, but they're not better. They're just not getting hit. And then the next season starts, and it happens again. More hits, more damage, more deterioration, and the damage compounds, year after year, season after season, until retirement. And then the real problems start. Because while you're playing, adrenaline masks symptoms. Competition distracts you, purpose gives you meaning. But when you retire, all of that's gone, and you're left with a damaged brain and no way to fix it. So what happens to the brain after one NFL season? It shrinks, physically, measurably. White matter deteriorates, gray matter volume decreases, neural connections break down, memory declines, processing speed slows, emotional regulation fails, and tau starts accumulating, setting the stage for CTE, for decades of decline, for early dementia after one season, not 10, not 20, one. And the NFL knows this. They've funded studies, read the research, seen the scans, and they've done almost nothing. Token rule changes, concussion protocols that don't work. PR campaigns about player safety, but they haven't fixed the problem, because the problem is the game itself. Football, as it's currently played, causes brain damage, inevitably, unavoidably. Every player, every season, every hit. And they know it. But the NFL makes $18 billion a year, so they won't change. They'll just keep scanning brains, studying damage, documenting decline, while selling tickets and making money off broken men with broken brains. That's what happens after one NFL season. Permanent damage that never fully heals and only gets worse.